Greetings and welcome back to the Casual Wargamer. You join me tonight on a chilly, slightly rainy, but chocolate saved evening for a little chat. Jurassic World mug, can't go wrong. So, in Grimdark Future, for one-page rules, there are 4 armies that don't have representation in Warhammer 40k. All your other options are there, whether you're a Tyranid player, Space Marine, Orc, whatever. You have armies based loosely on what you would play in 40k. The odd one out there is Tau, who seem to be split into 2.5 factions. Because they have the Dao Union, which is the Battlesuit army, they have Eternal Dynasty, which is the Fire Warrior army, and the 0.5 is the Jackals, which are your Kroot. I say 0.5 because I generally think they are a ally army. But there you go. But everything else is there and intact waiting for you to come and play it. But as I say, there are 4 that don't exist in 40k. And I'm going to tell you how, in my opinion, you can fit them into the lore and backstory of Warhammer 40k in its current universal condition. First up is the infected colonies. In Grimdark Future, this represents, with a little bit of backstory, some human colony ships landed on some fairly unpleasant planets, which were infected by this strange fungal growth, which takes over the host, much in the same way as those fungus things take over ants in the rainforest, and which were, I think, the inspiration for the gribbly beasties in The Last of Us. Except in this instance, having infected and overcome the human population, it has gained sentience from those individuals and wants to continue having sentience. So it is trying to spread itself out into the stars. So you can kind of look at this army in a sort of intelligent Pox Walkers / John Carpenter's The Thing style army. It's very body horror. It's quite nice. So how does this fit into the 40k universe? Well, this is quite simple. This is a minor faction in the scheme of things. So it could just be that backstory somewhere out there in the galaxy. You could have it in some way connected to Nurgle, some sort of intelligent fungal plan to take over the universe. Or, in theory, I know this is a little bit of a stretch, but hey-ho, maybe this is the supernatural threat in the Ghoul Stars that the likes of the Death Spectres and other chapters are trying to contain. That's a little bit of a weakish one, I suppose, depending on how tightly you confine yourself to Warhammer 40k lore. But there are ways of fitting this army into the backstory. You've then got the Ratmen, which I think is probably the hardest one to realistically fit in. So in Grimdark Future, the backstory to these is basically they are the genetic remnants of the experiments that created the Battle Brothers and Prime Brothers, Space Marines, which have kind of escaped out there into the universe and have now become their own thing. Why they were doing it with rats, I'm not entirely sure. But hey-ho. So, for all intents and purposes, these guys are Skaven in space without the weird chaosy element. Some people will scream, but you've got the Harad for that. Well, I don't think it's ever really been confirmed that the Harad were rats. I think that comes from one picture in like the 3rd edition 40k rulebook that shows sort of like a hooded figure with gnarled talons and a rat-like tail. So, I get it. But I don't think they've ever been confirmed as being Space Skaven. But this is. For me personally, I tend to think that maybe you could have this as a world gets encased in a warp storm for 100 or 1,000 years, and when it recedes, the human population is long since gone, but the vermin that existed deep below the planet in the tunnels and pipes have evolved or changed or mututified to become ratmen. And they are now spreading out using the labours, the vehicles and so forth of their former human occupiers to spread out into space. In a very weird sort of way, I tend to see them, I don't know why this sits in my head, but I tend to see Ratmen as kind of like the criminal underworld. I think they fit the kind of Necromunda sort of scale maybe slightly better. You know, they are dwelling in the tunnels and things deep below the hive cities, occasionally popping up to steal stuff and wage conflicts with gangs and so forth. And you can do that in the Necromunda equivalent of this Firefight, I believe it's called. If my memory is working this late in the evening, maybe I need some hot chocolate to waken the brain cells up. And I kind of get the impression that Ratmen are kind of like the criminal bosses. They're kind of like the huts in 40k for these great hive cities. So I think it's a bit of a stretch, but you can do it easily enough. Next up are the renegade gorillas. And it's not gorillas as in giant monkey men, although I do think that would be cool. There is a simian option in the army. I do like the idea of maybe finding some models of sci-fi apes and the like with guns and making a renegade gorillas army. That would be just awesome sauce. But this in the Grimdark Future lore is basically a collection of alien races that have been maybe wiped out by alien hives, orcs, human expansion, what have you, and they've kind of come together to sort of like fight back. And I think that really does actually fit the 40k universe well. These are the remnants of races, minor Xenos races that have been eradicated or wiped out. Their empires destroyed, and they're kind of fighting back against the Imperial occupiers, or maybe even gene stealer cults. Soul snatchers, as they're called here in Grimdark Future. And the nice thing is that where this army works, let me just bring it up here, it's not built around a specific army. You know, orcs is orcs, elves is elves, you know, dwarves are dwarves. And this, units are simply given titles: spotters, strikers, elites, snipers, pioneers. You could make this army out of like a random collection of alien races, 40k ones, other STLs you find, whatever. A nice mix and match, and you could easily, you know, fit your Votan aiding Eldar, aiding Ratlings, aiding whoever. A nice combined force, or as I say, the ones you can find on STL files or whatever. That fits into the 40k universe really well, I think, without a problem. You've got this ragtag force that's trying to fight back against the oppressors, as it were, but they're not gene stealer cultists. And lastly, my favourite, and probably the reason why I picked on my Jurassic World hot chocolate mug, my favourite in Grimdark Future, the Saurian Star Hosts. Yes, these are dinosaurs in space. I keep doing that. It's beginning to really annoy people. So I've only got two models. These are 3D printed. A friend of mine did for me, and I've been painting up slowly over the last week or so. Really pleased with the outcomes. And these are your Seraphon / Lizardmen with the sci-fi tangent. These are really easy to add into Warhammer 40k lore. They are basically the Slan. They are the old ones. They are the remnants of those that created the Eldari and the Krork and fought the Necrontyr. And although in traditional lore of 40k, the old ones, the Slan, were wiped out, all you need to do here is say that, hey, at the end of that, just like the Necrons slunk off to sit in their tombs for 65 million years, so did these guys. These ancient archaeotech ziggurats on distant jungle worlds where they put themselves to cryogenic sleep. And much like the Necrons, they lost some to stellar explosions, seismic activity, what have you. But now recent activity such as the Great Rift or the soul-sapping elements of the prior Nexus have started to awaken these guys. And they're not happy. They might not have the full army status of everybody else that's currently in the 40k universe, But you could easily suddenly have the Imperials sort of go, what the hell is going on here? You know, as these dinosaurs riding lizards with power weapons and big ass guns suddenly materialize on their worlds and start going, get off, mammals. So that is the 4 factions in Grimdark Future that don't exist in some faction in Warhammer 40k. And just a few ideas how you can, if you're going to sort of, because let's be honest, most people that play this game, even though Grimdark Future has its own lore, it's not great. It's a bit lackluster. I'll do a video about that at some point as well. Most of us, myself included, still continue to play in the 40k universe. So this is just my thoughts how you could bring these armies in. Simple, short little video for the evening. If you do something similar, let me know. If you've got a different idea, how do your Ratmen clans fit into the 40k universe for you? Let me know down below. Give me some ideas. Likewise for the others. If you've got a better idea for infected colonies, throw it in the comments. In the meantime, I'm going to start trying to add some OPR, specifically Grimdark Future for the moment, but later on, once I get my Age of Fantasy army up and running, I'll start throwing some content for that. I want to start doing a bit of both because I'm really enjoying. So hit the like button, especially if you want more OPR content and thoughts and wobbles. Comment down below, share the video, subscribe, pass this to your friends, and I'll see you guys soon in the comments down below and in the next video. Take care and good gaming.